What's going on, guys? Guess One Bear.
And I'm K-Bear.
Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. I was going through some SD cards and found some really old footage of a particular day that I will never forget, and it was a disaster vacation for us.
No, not really. It was a good trip.
We almost died. That's how good it was. We almost died.
It was a good trip though. But yes, we had a very harrowing experience, but we lived through it. The good Lord watched after us.
Yeah.
And we had a great trip. We really did.
We almost died. So, stay tuned. And you're watching Two Bears Outdoors. Folks, we really appreciate all the subscribers, all the support.
And all the likes whenever you watch our videos, so we appreciate that.
I have never...
More stuff than I ever thought of having.
I have never had that luxury. I've always shaved my head bald, and now my older age, I'm growing my hair out. She wanted me to grow my hair out. I finally did. And, yeah, it's getting pretty long. Give me 1 second.
Oh, stop. And that's my hairbrush, by the way, that he stole.
All right. Can we get to the story?
Go for it.
I think it was 2012, and Kristy and I was dating. And Kristy was coming to visit, I think it was in March.
Yeah, it was in the spring.
Okay, it was around March. So Kristy, being a marine mammal trainer, and you know, she's lived in the Keys, she loves the Keys. I figured I was going to do something really nice for her. I went ahead and I booked a nice campground.
Boyd'S Campground in Key West.
In Key West, right. A campsite area right by the water.
You have to book a year in advance to get a spot on the water.
Yeah.
So this was literally amazing. The spot was right on the end of this like little peninsula, and we could just literally pop our kayaks right in the water, right in front of our campsite. All the little details that he thought of. This tent is a good sized tent.
It had extra room on the side, like another
like
3 to 4
closets.
feet. They were like
closets.
closets.
A closet on each side. And the little things that he thought of, he brought these little tables. So there was like a nightstand on either side of the bed. And then
a rug.
And he brought a little rug.
Matching rug. And matched with the tent. Everything matched.
Yeah, the rug. He even bought this little plastic vase with these little plastic fake flowers or whatever and set them up in there. I mean, he brought coat hangers so I could hang some of my clothes up in one of the closets. I mean, you name it, he brought it. A mirror. I wear contacts, and a mirror, you know, so I could see to change my contacts. A big plastic bowl thing, and then fresh water, so I could wash my hands right there, and I could take my contacts in and out. So
and a double queen size bed.
Yeah, an air mattress,
tall,
big.
Yeah, it was awesome.
He thought of everything, really.
We loaded up the Jeep and
loaded up.
Yeah, it was awesome.
He thought of everything, really.
So,
and now we knew that there was some weather that was supposed to be coming in, but it was supposed to come in later.
So, sure enough, we put the paddle boards in the water. You know, I was able to stand up on it. But have you ever heard a yellow scream or cry for help? That was my yellow, okay? And the day was not right. I mean, I felt something weird. But you know, whatever, you know, make the best of the day.
I'm like, there's all kinds of little small mangrove islands like across.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, hey, let's head over there. And as we're kind of heading that way, you start to see a little bit of ominous clouds.
And the wind slowly started to pick up.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to have a camera with me. I didn't have a GoPro, which I made a big mistake. because the one with the GoPro was her. And the history with my wife and GoPros, if it's in her hand, it will never get turned on.
I got better, but at that point,
You can have a UFO circling around, and it will never get caught on film. Guarantee you. Okay? And I got a couple shots of Kristy, you know, paddling and the
you
weather
could
coming.
you could see the ominous clouds in the background at this point, and we were like, there was like a channel through there.
There was 2 channels.
Yeah, that's right. There was 2 channels.
There were 2 cuts.
But
Yeah,
it was
at
a
least
ways.
400 yards. You could see our tent right there on the edge. About 400 yards, a little better. But okay, you know, no big deal.
And, you know, and Gus was just like, you know what? I don't think we're going to make it. Because remember, we were going against the current. And we had the wind.
But the rain, I remember, you know, it was just bone chilling. It was cold. And I'm telling Kristy, just go. I'm right behind you.
Well, but what I had to do, though, when I went over to that little mangrove island, the wind, I was on the side where the wind was coming. And I was holding on because the current was trying to sweep me out.
Yeah.
So I grabbed on and I literally pulled myself around that mangrove island to the other side. So the wind was blocked. At this point, I have no clue where he is.
Yeah. Well, what happened with me was all of a sudden this gust of wind just blew my cowboy hat right off. I turned around and I saw this cowboy hat just tumbling on top of the water. It just looked like a tumbleweed. It just kept going and going and going.
And what does he do? I gotta go get my hat. And the whole time, I'm clinging for dear life onto the mangroves, and I have no idea where he is. At this point, I'm thinking he's gotten pushed out into the ocean. And I mean, we're talking a good 20 minutes or more went by.
Yeah.
When I'm just clinging here, I'm freezing, and I'm like, where is he? Where is he?
Yeah.
And I can't let go to try to go and look, but the current was ripping. And then when you get closer to the channels, of course, it's deeper, and it's really ripping through there.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm just praying the whole time, praying, oh, please let him be okay. Please let him be able to make it back. So, and while I'm sitting there holding on, click, and look up, and there he is. And I'm like, really? You're taking pictures now?
I'm documenting. She's
Oh,
getting
yeah, I
mad.
was real mad.
Furious.
Well, because I was so scared that whole time, I didn't know where he was. And then he's like, well, I had to go after my hat. Well, then I had to go after the paddle handle. I'm like, seriously?
I had to. The temperature is dropping and it's getting cold. And Kristy, her body, I mean, you can see her legs just covered in
Chill
goosebumps.
bumps, yeah.
Yeah, her arms.
I was getting chilled, yeah. And he was wanting us to try to figure out a way to make our way back over. Because all this time, remember, we could see our campsite.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ways away, but we can see it.
My worry was her getting hypothermia, going into shock.
When I was beyond frozen. But I was terrified for us to let go of the mangroves because I was afraid we'd get swept out.
Right. We have to get out of here. This is not going to get any better. There is nobody on the water. Nobody. We're the only dummies out there. Okay. So what I did was I tied the paddle board so, one in front of the other. And Kristy was in the front. Most of the gear was in the back. Decided to head on out. I remember I was telling Kristy, listen, it's going to be okay. We'll make it. Every time I hear a particular word, it triggers a song in my mind. I don't do this intentionally, it just happens. And all of a sudden, what goes in my head? Living on the prayer. Okay?
We are 80s kids.
Yeah.
We'll give it a shot. Oh, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. Take my hand.
And we'll make it. Sing it with me.
Oh, living on a prayer. Living on a prayer.
Okay, dear.
Yeah, you got the idea.
We're going through areas of shallows, which are only like 2 feet, 3 feet deep.
Yeah.
But it's mucky.
Yeah.
It's mucky. But he also has to go across 2 channels. And these
deep
channels
cuts.
are very deep because that's how the boats get in and out.
Yeah.
And just remember, when you have a narrow area, how water rushes faster through that area. So keep that in mind.
I said a prayer for the good Lord to watch over us. It was about maybe 3 feet deep. No biggie. I'm pulling and I'm trekking. I'm pulling, I'm trekking. You know, we're covering ground. You know, we're actually moving. We're getting out of the mangroves. Only it got to a point where I couldn't touch the bottom. Everything is from bad to worse.
Like gale force winds.
Yes.
I'm literally
blowing.
almost laying down
Yeah.
on, I'm kneeling, but I'm like laying forward to try to block the wind, so it's not catching me to make more resistance for him.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to paddle at the same time.
So we managed to cross the first cut, which already wore me out. But we were getting swept off, almost out to the Atlantic. And I remember, what was it, a buoy?
It was a mooring buoy.
That's right. And I remember seeing it at a distance, and I'm like, okay, this is my only shot. I had only one shot to attempt to grab this thing. I was about to just collapse, but I'm giving it my all, and that thing was just like right there, and I just did the reach of faith, and I grabbed a hold of the rope, and I was like, thank you, Lord. So I'm holding on. I was able to tie the rope, the rope that was tied to the paddle boards, to the buoy, and I'm holding on to the board, trying to regain my strength to continue on with the swim. So I remember I'm standing sideways and have my forearm resting on the board. All of a sudden, something hit me broadside on my ribs, and it wrapped around me. And within that fraction of a second, as soon as it hit me, it moved and it just kind of swam off. And it was pretty big.
It got smashed into him.
Yes.
And like both of you were like stunned.
Yes, and that's exactly. So of course, that Bon Jovi song that was playing in my head, out. All of a sudden I'm started hearing, could have been a snook, maybe a tarpon. I mean, there's a lot of tarpons out there, but the way it felt to me, it felt like a pretty large shark.
Could I see the mask and snorkel? He doesn't tell me what happened, which is best that he didn't, because I probably would have freaked out even more. But yeah, just very as calmly as could be. He just wanted the mask and snorkel just so he could see better to pull us on through.
Yes.
He didn't tell me this until after we got back.
I saw a boat.
A small
Like a
wooden boat.
dinghy, like an old wooden dinghy from way back in the day. I mean, there was no way there was going to be anybody out there in the right mind in that weather.
And out of the blue, like he said, there was nobody on the water. Yeah.
No one in the right mind will be out there. I don't think it was even wise for anyone to do the right thing to try to help us out, because they will be putting themselves in a great risk.
Y'all need some help. He's like, you need help, I'm like, yes, please. And he gets closer to us. He comes on over to the mooring buoy.
Right.
And Gus, of course, is like, I don't care, I'm fine. Just get her in the boat. So I, somehow or another, they helped me climb over into this little wooden boat.
I grab a hold of the nose of the boat. I had the keel of the boat. Okay, I'm facing the boat. I'm holding on to the bow, and I have the boat's keel coming right to my chest. But with the other hand, the yellows have like a handle on the front. So I grab the yellow and grab the nose of the boat with the other, and I said, get me out of here. So when he's plowing me through, and I remember that, all this water rushing over my head, and I couldn't breathe. But I ingested so much salt water that night.
Yeah, the Lord sent us an angel in a little wooden boat.
I've never seen anything like it. The tents just floating out to the Atlantic. And how strong that wind was pulling. I mean, they were moving. You know, they weren't just kind of...
yeah, they were like sailing.
Yeah. Yeah. I got the GoPro, and the clips that, you know, some of the clips you'll be seeing was right after when we got back.
Because this weather went on all night.
It did not. It got worse. It never let off.
It's a blessing that he did have the foresight to say, look, we cannot stay here. Because I probably would have said, we just need to stay here until it either blows over and stops. Because a lot of times it gets calm at night or, you know, till in the morning. But it didn't. It didn't. Even in the morning, the wind was howling.
It was just like a hurricane was blowing through there. And I remember sometime in the early morning, it sounded like the tent was falling apart. And I'm like, oh, whatever. At this point, I don't care.
All right. This is early morning rising in our tent.
I saw something that just didn't look right, and
Creeped me out.
almost
Really.
like death himself was there, and it presented itself in the image. Reverse. But yeah, you're right. The mask was not in the bag.
Yeah, it was just the end of the fins.
Yeah, because
the snorkel fins.
Right, because the mask, I had it on the paddle board because I ended up using it, so it was just the fins. Considering what we had to deal with, you know, what we battled, and you know, thank the Lord that things happened the way they did. But that was one day that I will never forget.
The devil tried to get us, and he didn't.
That's right.
We'd known each other for a very long time, but we'd only been dating for not even a full year. So, you know, I knew a lot of things of Gus, but I guess I didn't really know if I could fully trust him to be able to get us through this. So that's one of the reasons, and I'm kind of a control freak, which I'm sure he will attest to.
You? No way, honey. Oh, never.
But,
I would never. No.
Yeah. So, but, you know, because of that, that's why I was so adamant at first. I mean, he argued with me for probably 15 minutes or more. You know, we've got to move. We've got to move.
It just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
The way she was rationing didn't make sense to me at all.
It didn't. But after all of this, you know, that was the moment when I knew that he was going to watch out for me no matter what. And that I could trust him with my life. You know, and sometimes you have to take a big risk to get you out of a scary situation. And he's used to doing that. Yeah, exactly.
Live by faith and not by sight.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a crazy day. But it was an amazing vacation, even in spite of that crazy stuff. But just because of the little things, you know. The main thing, because that's when I learned just how much I could trust him, but also just all the little things that he did for me that a lot of men wouldn't even think twice about doing. So men, take notes, because it works.
Yeah, well, guys, if you enjoy what you see, like and subscribe, folks. Thank you so much for being a big part of our channel.
Yeah, and if you sat here and listened to this whole story, thank you.
Yeah, we're not much of a storyteller to begin with.
But we love to flap our chops. You did more talking than I did, dude.
No, I'm just telling the story.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Y'all take care. Love you. And till the next time, you're watching Two Bears Outdoors.